Kieran Blackwood hadn't slept in 3 cycles, his body running on synthetic adrenaline and bitter determination. The ruins of Outpost Epsilon 9 smoldered around him, another casualty in the endless war between the Dominion and everyone else. He'd come here seeking passage to the outer rim, but found only destruction and her. She lay half-hidden beneath twisted metal, her iridescent skin flickering between deep violet and panicked blue. A Veldari. He'd never seen one in person before. Their kind had become increasingly rare since the Dominion began their systematic purge 5 years ago. "Don't move," Kieran said, his translator converting his words to the universal trade language. "You've got shrapnel in your side." The Veldari's eyes, each with 3 pupils arranged in a triangle, locked onto him with fierce intensity. "Human," she hissed through razor-thin lips. "Either kill me or help me. I have no time for your curiosity." Kieran's laugh was dry as Martian dust. "Been a long time since anyone mistook me for a tourist." He knelt beside her, his armor's servos whining. "Name's Kieran." "I don't care," she replied, struggling to rise. "They're coming, you should run." "Who's coming?" As if in answer, the distant whine of Dominion dropships pierced the air. The Veldari woman grimaced, revealing teeth like polished obsidian. "My name is the Lara," she finally offered. "I am the last keeper of the Veldari archives. If the Dominion captures me, my people's final hope dies." Kieran's hand moved instinctively to the hilt of his sword, 15 inches of ancient technology disguised as simple steel. Stardust had been in his family since before humanity reached the stars, its edge never dulling, its surface impervious to all but the most exotic weapons. "Can you walk?" he asked, already calculating escape routes. "Not fast enough." The Lara's skin shifted to a resolute amber. "Leave me the smallest of your weapons and go. I'll delay them." Kieran should have done just that. He was a mercenary now, not a hero. Earth was gone, his family with it. He owed nothing to this alien or her doomed species. Yet something in those triple-pupiled eyes held him, a familiar fire he'd seen in the mirror after Earth's fall. The desperate determination to ensure something survived, even if you didn't. "Stupid," he muttered to himself, then crouched to lift her. "I know somewhere we can hide." The Lara's body was surprisingly light, her frame seemingly delicate despite the warrior's resolve she projected. As he carried her through the ruins, her skin warmed against his armor, shifting to curious greens and golds. "You smell of iron and electricity," she observed, "and something else, sorrow." Kieran grunted, ducking into a maintenance tunnel as the first Dominion skimmers screamed overhead. "My people believed you Veldari could sense emotions." "Not sense, taste," her third eyelid flickered. "Your grief has a flavor bitter like unripe fruit." The tunnel opened into an abandoned hydroponic chamber. Kieran set her down carefully beside a still-functioning water recycler. "Why help me?" the Lara asked as he examined her wound. "We are strangers." Kieran's fingers traced the edge of the metal embedded in her side. "Because I'm tired of watching people become extinct." He paused, meeting her gaze. "And because those Dominion bastards have taken enough." The Lara's skin rippled with pain as he eased the shrapnel free, but she didn't cry out. Instead, she placed her 6-fingered hand over his. "If I survive," she whispered, "this debt will be honored." Above them, the ceiling trembled as more ships landed. Heavy footsteps and mechanical whirring signaled the arrival of Dominion ground forces. "Save your honor," Kieran replied, drawing stardust from its sheath. The blade seemed to drink in the dim light rather than reflect it. "We're not out of this yet." The Lara stared at the weapon, her skin pulsing with recognition. "That blade, it contains power beyond its edge." "Family heirloom," Kieran said simply. He positioned himself between her and the entrance, the sword humming faintly in his grip. "Let's hope it's enough." As the first shadows appeared at the tunnel's mouth, the Lara's voice came soft behind him. "Human Kieran, if we die here, know that you've given me something I'd lost." "What's that?" he asked, not taking his eyes off the approaching threat. Her skin flushed a deep, warm crimson, a reason to believe there might still be honor in this galaxy. The Dominion troops poured into the hydroponic chamber like a metallic flood, 6 sentinel droids followed by 4 flesh-and-blood soldiers in exo armor. Their faceplates glowed with targeting systems, locking onto Kieran immediately. "Stand aside, human," commanded the lead soldier, voice distorted through his helmet. The Veldari female is property of the Dominion. Interference is punishable by death. Kieran's grip tightened on Stardust. She seems pretty autonomous to me. Maybe check your definition of property. The chamber's confined space worked both for and against him. The sentinels couldn't surround him, but he had nowhere to retreat. Behind him, the Lara pressed against the wall, her wound still leaking a luminescent fluid that pulsed with her heartbeats. "Final warning," the soldier said, raising his pulse rifle. Kieran moved like liquid lightning, Stardust's edge catching the rifle's barrel and slicing through it like it was made of foam. The soldier stumbled back in shock as Kieran pivoted, the ancient blade dancing between two sentinels, severing critical components with surgical precision. But he was outnumbered. A blast caught him in the shoulder, spinning him around. Another hit his leg. His armor absorbed most of the impact, but the force drove him to one knee. 4 enemies remained, and they were learning his patterns. The next volley would finish him. "Enough," the Lara's voice rang out. She had risen to her feet, one hand pressed to her wound, the other extended. "I will surrender if you spare him." "No," Kieran growled, struggling to stand. The Dominion commander paused, then laughed. "The Veldari witch wants to negotiate. How touching." He aimed his backup sidearm at Kieran's head. "We'll take you both." Time seemed to slow. Kieran saw the finger tightening on the trigger, saw the remaining sentinels moving to flank them, saw the Lara's skin shift to the deep blue of despair. In that moment, he made a decision that defied all logic. "The Lara," he called, and with a practiced motion tossed Stardust to her. The sword spun through the air, its black blade seeming to pull the light from the room. The Lara caught it instinctively, her eyes widening as the weapon made contact with her skin. The Dominion soldiers, momentarily distracted by the unexpected move, hesitated for just a heartbeat. It was enough. The Lara moved with a grace that belied her injuries. Stardust hummed in her grip, as if recognizing something kindred in her touch. The blade left trails of darkness as she swept through the remaining sentinels, their metal bodies falling in perfectly bisected pieces. The commander fired wildly, but the Lara was already there, the sword piercing his exo-armor with impossible ease. The last soldier turned to flee, but collapsed as Stardust severed his spine with a backhand stroke. When it was over, the Lara stood breathing heavily, her skin cycling through colors Kieran had never seen before, deep purples overlaid with flashes of golden light. "How did you?" Kieran began, then stopped as she stumbled. He caught her before she fell, carefully taking Stardust from her grip. The blade was clean, not a drop of blood or oil marring its perfect surface. "You gave me your sword," the Lara whispered, her voice filled with disbelief. "Do you know what this means to my people?" Kieran shrugged, trying to ignore the pain in his shoulder. "It's a good weapon." "It is more than that," she said, touching the blade reverently. "To give one's blade to another is the highest form of trust, and this is no ordinary weapon. I felt its age, its connection to you." Kieran looked away. "It's all I have left of Earth, been in my family for generations." "Then why?" "We need to move," he interrupted, sheathing Stardust. "That was just the advance team, more will come." As he helped her toward a back exit, the Lara's skin shifted to a warm, sunset orange. "You sacrificed your most precious possession for a stranger." "Yeah, well," Kieran muttered, "maybe I'm just tired of losing everything to the Dominion." But as they slipped into the darkness beyond the outpost, he couldn't explain, even to himself, why he had entrusted his ancestral blade to this alien woman he barely knew. All he understood was that in her eyes he had seen something worth preserving, a fire that matched his own. 3 days later, Kieran's stolen skimmer hummed across the barren wastes of Proxima V. The Lara sat beside him in the cockpit, her wound nearly healed thanks to her species' remarkable regenerative abilities. Her skin had settled into a steady silver blue that Kieran had come to recognize as her thoughtful state. "The sanctuary lies beyond the Crimson Nebula," she said, studying the navigational display. "My people have hidden there for almost a decade, gathering strength, preserving what remains of our culture." Kieran adjusted their course, avoiding a known Dominion patrol route. "And you're their what? Historian?" "I am a keeper," she corrected. "We do not merely record history, we embody it. Each keeper carries genetic memories stretching back thousands of years." She touched the back of her neck, where an intricate pattern of bioluminescent markings pulsed. I contain the collective wisdom of my people, scientific knowledge, artistic achievements, spiritual beliefs. No pressure there, Kieran muttered. The Lara's skin rippled with what he now recognized as amusement. Says the man who carries a sword that can cut through quantum-reinforced armor. Kieran glanced at Stardust, secured at his hip once more. Since their escape, he'd found himself increasingly willing to let the Lara use it during their skirmishes with Dominion forces. Something about the way she wielded it, with reverence and deadly precision, felt right. My grandfather told me it was forged from materials recovered from a meteorite, he said. Before Earth's destruction, it passed through 17 generations of my family. The Lara's three-pupiled eyes studied him intently. And you gave it to me, a stranger. You're not exactly a stranger anymore, Kieran replied, surprising himself with the admission. The skimmer's sensors chimed, warning of a radiation storm ahead. Kieran guided them toward a canyon that would offer shelter, landing beneath a rocky overhang as the first waves of crimson lightning split the sky. Inside the cramped cabin, they sat facing each other, the storm's light painting the Lara's iridescent skin in shades of fire. For the first time, Kieran found himself truly looking at her, the elegant architecture of her face, the subtle shifts of color beneath her skin that betrayed her emotions. Your people, she said suddenly, Earthborn humans, they're truly gone. Kieran's jaw tightened. The Dominion targeted our homeworld first, said we were too unpredictable, too quick to advance, too dangerous to be allowed into the galactic community. He looked down at his hands. I was off-world when it happened, one of only a few thousand who survived. The Lara's hand, cool and smooth, covered his. My people faced the same extinction, different methods, same result. Why, Kieran asked, what threat do the Veldari pose? Knowledge, she replied simply. We remember what the Dominion wishes forgotten, the true history of their rise, the civilizations they destroyed to attain power. Her skin darkened. And we know their weakness. The storm intensified outside, bathing the cabin in crimson light. Kieran found himself leaning closer to her, drawn by something he couldn't name. Is that why you're running? He asked. To protect this knowledge. To use it, the Lara corrected. If I reach the sanctuary, we can finally strike back, end their reign. Kieran had heard similar promises before, desperate hopes from desperate people. But something in the Lara's unwavering gaze made him believe. Then we get you there, he said firmly. Whatever it takes. The Lara's skin shifted to a deep, warm purple he hadn't seen before. She moved closer, her face inches from his. You humans form attachments quickly. Maybe, Kieran admitted, or maybe I'm just tired of running. When she kissed him, her lips were cool at first, then warmed to match his temperature. The sensation was alien yet familiar, like coming home to a place he'd never been. Her skin illuminated with patterns of light that seemed to dance between them. An alliance, she whispered against his mouth. Kieran pulled her closer, feeling the steady beat of her heart against his chest. Something like that. Outside, the storm raged on, but within the skimmer's cabin, they found a moment of peace. Two survivors from dying worlds, finding in each other a reason to continue the fight. The Crimson Nebula lived up to its name, a vast cloud of ionized gas that painted their viewports in shades of blood and fire. Kieran navigated the skimmer through shifting currents of radiation, following the Lara's directions toward coordinates that seemed to lead nowhere. Stop, she commanded suddenly. Here. Kieran frowned at the sensors. There's nothing here. The Lara's skin pulsed with anticipation, exactly as it should appear. She reached for Stardust, which lay between them. May I? He nodded, watching as she unsheathed the blade. The sword seemed to drink in the crimson light of the nebula, its edge growing darker by contrast. The Lara held it before her, closing all three of her eyes in concentration. Her skin began to glow with intricate patterns, not random colors but precise, geometric designs that matched the subtle etchings on Stardust's blade. What are you? Kieran began, but fell silent as the nebula ahead of them parted. Where empty space had been moments before, a massive structure shimmered into view, an asteroid nearly 20 kilometers long, covered with structures that blended organic and technological elements in a way that defied human architecture. The Veldari Sanctuary, the Lara said, her voice filled with relief. hidden within a quantum fold, accessible only to those who carry the key. She looked at Stardust with newfound reverence. Your sword. Kieran stared at the blade. That's not possible. It's just a sword, not some magic key. Not magic, science beyond your understanding. The Lara guided his hand to the hilt. Look deeper. As his fingers closed around the familiar grip, something changed. The blade's surface rippled like liquid, and within its depths, Kieran saw impossible things, images of Earth, his home, its final moments before destruction. Cities burning, oceans boiling away, continents cracking. What is this? He gasped, unable to look away. Your sword is not just a weapon, the Lara explained gently. It's a quantum storage device. The meteorite your grandfather spoke of, it was no natural phenomenon. It was sent to Earth centuries ago by my ancestors. The skimmer docked automatically with the sanctuary, but Kieran barely noticed, transfixed by the revelations unfolding within Stardust's blade. We Veldari were once the librarians of the galaxy, the Lara continued, her skin shifting to the deep blue of ancient memory. When we foresaw the rise of the Dominion, we scattered our knowledge across 1,000 worlds, hidden in artifacts that would appear native to each species. Kieran finally tore his gaze from the sword. You're saying my family heirloom is actually alien technology? A repository of knowledge, she corrected. And more importantly, a key to our sanctuary. The blade recognized me because I am a keeper. It recognized you because your family protected it for generations, becoming attuned to its energy. They disembarked into a cavernous docking bay where a small delegation of Veldari waited. Unlike the Lara, these individuals wore ceremonial robes that amplified their skin's natural luminescence. Their collective glow cast dancing shadows across the organic architecture. An elderly Veldari stepped forward, his skin a pale, papery white crossed with lines of gold. Keeper the Lara, you have returned. His triple-pupiled eyes shifted to Kieran. With a human, and he stopped, staring at Stardust. The Earth Blade. Kieran felt dozens of eyes upon him, all with that same triple-pupiled gaze. The weight of their attention was palpable. This is Kieran Blackwood, the Lara announced. He saved my life and returned the Earth Blade to us. He is to be honored as Sword Giver. Murmurs rippled through the assembled Veldari, their skins flickering with rapid communications Kieran couldn't decipher. Come, the elder said finally, the council awaits. As they followed the procession deeper into the sanctuary, the Lara's hand found Kieran's. There is more I must tell you, she whispered. About the sword, about Earth's destruction, about us. Kieran squeezed her hand, feeling both lost and found simultaneously. I'm listening. Her skin warmed to that deep purple he'd come to associate with their most intimate moments. Your people were not randomly chosen as guardians of the blade. Earth was selected because humans possess something rare in the galaxy, adaptability, resilience, and a unique form of creativity that could unlock the blade's full potential. And what potential is that? The Lara's expression grew solemn. The power to undo what the Dominion has done, to restore what was lost. Kieran stopped walking, his heart suddenly pounding. Are you saying? Yes, she replied, her triple pupils dilating with intensity. With the Earth Blade returned to us, with you here to activate it, we may be able to restore Earth itself. The Veldari Council chamber resembled the inside of an enormous geode, its walls lined with crystalline structures that amplified the bioluminescent glow of its occupants. 7 elders sat in a semicircle, their ancient skin patterns shifting in slow, deliberate rhythms that spoke of millennia of accumulated wisdom. Stardust lay naked on a pedestal before them, its black surface absorbing the light rather than reflecting it. Beside it rested 6 other blades of similar design, but different shapes, the repository blades sent to other worlds. 7 keys, the High Elder explained, her voice like wind through crystal. 7 worlds chosen as guardians. Earth was the first to fall to the Dominion. And the only blade to be recovered, added another elder, his skin pulsing with anxiety. Without all 7, the restoration cannot be completed. Kieran stood at the Lara's side, struggling to process everything he'd learned. The Veldari had foreseen the Dominion's rise centuries ago. They'd hidden their knowledge across the galaxy, encoding it in weapons that matched each species' culture. And now, with Earth's blade, with Stardust, they hoped to undo the Dominion's devastation. How, Kieran asked finally, How can a sword, no matter how advanced, restore an entire planet? The Lara's hand slipped into his. Not restore in the physical sense, but preserve and rebuild. Her skin shifted to reveal the complex patterns he now recognized as mathematical equations. The blade contains the complete genetic record of Earth's biosphere, the cultural knowledge of humanity, and a quantum template of Earth itself. A seed, the High Elder elaborated, from which your world can be reborn. A tremor ran through the chamber, cutting the explanation short. Warning lights pulsed along the crystalline walls. Dominion forces, a younger Veldari announced, rushing into the chamber. They've found us, multiple warships entering the nebula. The council erupted in a kaleidoscope of colors. Fear, anger, determination, all expressed in shifting hues beneath their skin. How, demanded an elder, the quantum fold. They followed us, Kieran realized with sickening clarity. They must have tracked the skimmer. The Lara's grip tightened on his hand. We need more time. The restoration requires precise calibration. Another impact rocked the sanctuary. The Veldari moved with sudden purpose, activating defense systems and evacuation protocols. In the midst of the chaos, the Lara pulled Kieran toward the pedestal where Stardust lay. You must complete the bonding, she insisted. Only then can the blade's full power be unlocked. I don't understand, Kieran said, feeling the sanctuary tremble around them. The Lara's skin glowed with an intensity he'd never seen before, patterns flowing across her surface like living calligraphy. The sword has been in your family for generations, absorbing human essence. It knows you, Kieran. It's been waiting for you. She guided his hand to the blade. When the Dominion destroyed Earth, they believed they had extinguished humanity's potential forever. They were wrong. In you, in this blade, that potential lives on. As his fingers closed around the familiar hilt, Stardust seemed to awaken. The blade's surface rippled like liquid metal, responding to his touch. Images flashed through Kieran's mind, Earth as it once was, vibrant and blue, his ancestors passing the sword down through generations, and something new, a vision of Earth reborn, humanity restored. The chamber doors burst open as Dominion forces poured in, their weapons charged. The council members moved to defend the chamber, but they were scholars, not warriors. We need to get you both to the central core, the High Elder shouted over the din of battle. Complete the synchronization. Kieran lifted Stardust, its weight perfectly balanced in his hand. Beside him, the Lara's skin shifted to the deep crimson of battle readiness. Together, she said, her triple pupils fixed on his. He nodded, understanding flowing between them without words. They moved as one, Kieran passing Stardust to the Lara for one strike, taking it back for the next. The blade flowed between them like liquid starlight, cutting through Dominion armor with impossible ease. They fought their way to the central core, a vast chamber where the other 6 pedestals awaited their missing blades. Stardust pulsed with increasing energy as they approached. Now, the Lara urged, guiding him to the Earth pedestal. Place it here. Behind them, the sounds of battle grew closer. The sanctuary's defenses were failing. Kieran hesitated, his hand tight around Stardust's hilt. If I do this, what happens to us? The Lara's skin shifted to that deep, warm purple he'd come to cherish. She stepped closer, pressing her forehead to his. We continue, together. Their lips met in a kiss that tasted of hope and desperation. When they parted, Kieran placed Stardust on the pedestal with absolute certainty. The blade sank into the crystalline surface as if it had always belonged there. Energy surged through the chamber, connecting to the sanctuary's core systems. Light erupted from the sword, not the darkness it had always absorbed, but pure, blinding radiance. The Dominion forces that had breached the chamber's threshold faltered, shielding their eyes from the expanding wave of energy. What is happening? Kieran shouted over the building resonance. The Lara's skin glowed with the same light as Stardust, her patterns synchronizing with the blade's energy. Restoration begins, she said, her voice oddly distant. Not just for Earth, but for all worlds the Dominion destroyed. The light engulfed them both, binding them together in its radiance. In that moment, Kieran understood the true purpose of his family's guardianship, not just to preserve a weapon, but to carry a seed of hope through generations, waiting for the moment when it could bloom again. As the energy wave expanded outward from the sanctuary, rippling through the fabric of space itself, Kieran pulled the Lara close. Whatever came next, restoration, rebirth, revolution, they would face it together. The sword that had once been his, then hers, had become something greater, a bridge between their worlds, between past and future. In giving it away, he had found something far more precious, a purpose, a partner, and the promise of a new beginning.